She stood there quietly at the edge of the marble-floored bank hall, shoes worn thin, dress simple and carefully pressed, hands folded as if to keep her courage from spilling out, while the air hummed with privilege and impatience, and when she finally spoke her voice was steady but soft. "I just want to see my balance." The words drifted across the counter like something fragile, and the man behind the desk, a self-made millionaire whose name gleamed on magazines and whose laughter filled rooms, built for men like him, let out a short amused chuckle, not cruel in his own mind, just reflexive, the sound of a life that had learned to sort people by clothes, posture, and probability, because he had seen thousands like her before, or at least he thought he had, people who came in with hopeful eyes and empty accounts, people who wanted miracles printed on paper. And he smiled to the teller beside him as if sharing an inside joke, while nearby executives paused, sensing a moment of entertainment, and the laughter spread in a ripple of condescension that wrapped around her like cold air. Yet she did not flinch, did not explain, did not defend herself. She simply slid a small, slightly creased card across the counter, the kind that looked ordinary enough to be overlooked, and said again, quieter now but unwavering, "Please." The teller hesitated, glancing at the millionaire, who waved a dismissive hand as if to say go on, let her see the nothing she has, and so the card was entered, the keys clicked, the screen refreshed, and in that brief silence the world seemed to inhale, because the laughter stopped first, then the smirk faded, then the man leaned forward as if his eyes had betrayed him, the numbers stretching far beyond what the room could comprehend, zero after zero lining up like soldiers. Not the absence of money but the overwhelming presence of it, an amount that dwarfed his own accounts, an amount that bent the logic of first impressions, and the room changed in a heartbeat, surprise replacing mockery, whispers replacing laughter, the teller's hand trembling as she turned the screen slightly to confirm what she was seeing, while the millionaire felt something unfamiliar crawl up his spine, uncertainty, because the woman standing before him was not supposed to exist in his world. Not like this, not dressed like that, not speaking so simply, and yet the balance glowed with an undeniable truth that stripped away his assumptions one by one. She watched their faces not with triumph but with a quiet sadness, as if she had seen this reaction too many times before, and when she spoke again it was not to boast but to explain, telling a story that unfolded like a lesson wrapped in humility, about how wealth had come to her not through inheritance or luck but through patience, restraint, and an unwillingness to announce herself, how she had learned early that money shouted attracts thieves, envy, and noise, while money kept silent grows. How she had built companies from borrowed desks and late nights, sold them without headlines, invested without applause, choosing anonymity over admiration, and how today she was there not to impress but to close an account that no longer served her values, because she was moving her resources toward education, healthcare, and people who would never be allowed into rooms like this unless someone opened the door from the inside. The millionaire listened, every word landing heavier than the last, because for the first time in years he was not the teacher but the student, and the screen between them became a mirror reflecting his own arrogance back at him, forcing him to confront how easily he had laughed at a human being asking for something as simple as information. And how often power forgets courtesy when it feels secure. Around them, the bank felt smaller, its marble less impressive, its silence more honest, and when the transaction was complete she took her card back with the same calm she had arrived with, thanked the teller, and turned to leave, but before she reached the door the millionaire found his voice, stopping her not with authority but with something closer to respect, offering an apology that came out rough and unpolished, admitting that he had judged her and been wrong, and she accepted it with a nod that carried no resentment, only resolve, reminding him gently that wealth is not proven by laughter or labels but by how one treats others when no one is watching. As she disappeared into the crowd outside, the millionaire remained staring at the darkened screen, knowing that no market loss had ever cost him as much as that moment of misplaced arrogance, and in that quiet realization lay the true twist of the story, not that she was richer than him, but that she was freer, because she did not need validation, did not need recognition, and did not need to laugh at others to feel tall. And as this story settles in your heart, remember that lessons like these are hidden everywhere, waiting for eyes willing to see beyond appearances. So if stories that reveal truth, humility, and unexpected power move you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because every story you hear here is a reminder that the greatest balances are not always shown on a screen, but measured in character, and you won't want to miss the next one.